Well, everybody, thank you for joining an episode of Predictive Analytics and their effects on the future of finance. On this episode, I'm joined by Aastha Arora. Aastha and I met at a networking event and we instantly connected on machine learning, AI, and all fun topics. And we decided that a predictive analytics chat is something that's right in the median, so to speak, between what I do, which is in finance, and what Aastha does, which is in commodity trading and as a business analyst. And I'll let her introduce herself in a bit. But for those that don't know about the Finance Pro, we're a finance and a talent consulting firm, and we cater to the SMB startups and the growth stage companies. So with that, Aastha, I would love to get your background.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me today, and it's a pleasure talking to you. So, I work as a senior business analyst at Louis Dreyfus Commodities, which is a commodity trading firm, the part of the big ABCDs. And majorly, my role sits at the intersection of data, AI, and global commodity trading, I would say.
Mhm.
Over the past years, I have seen the journey across geographies from India, Singapore to US, collaborating with traders, analysts, and leaders to build such forecasting models, analytic pipelines, etc. And the shift has been drastic, I would say, in the last 5 years.
Right.
I mean, it's more about to understand what's real, what's the noise, and where the biggest opportunity lies. And I don't see any stopping now, and it's
Mhm.
just moving at the fastest speed ever.
Right. And so it's fair to say that the application of this technology in the type of work that you do is more high stakes than not, right? Because it's commodity
It's
trading. People's
because
livelihoods are directly affected.
it's real money involved,
Yep.
specifically like commodity trading, and then the people who are also into physical commodity trading. That's even bigger risk and bigger reward sector, I would say, because I mean, commodities, be it energy, be it agriculture, be
Yeah.
it metals, you can see volatility all across due to different factors which are getting impacting the macro environment, etc.
That's awesome. Well, you've got a fantastic background, and I'm very fortunate to meet you at that event. So I'm going to keep going to events like these so I can meet cool people and accomplished people like yourself. So I'm very happy to be talking to you as well.
Thank you.
Um, so let me ask you, I guess, let me kind of ask you a few questions first. I guess when it comes to you're in trading. So when it comes to the current economic environment, and I think a lot of my listeners are probably really glued into how the macro environment is shaping up today. The Fed's announced a 25 basis points cut and sort of the dot plot for another two more cuts for the year. But how do you see the economic environment from where you're sitting? Are you generally bullish? Are you generally bearish? Yeah, what's your opinion?
I would say I'm cautiously bullish in the medium term, but it's like long term, like growth cannot be stopped. It is as simple as that.
Mm,
So the factors which are playing in are majorly a intersection of micro interacting with macro. I would say more micro at this point of time, the demand side is shifting. People are changing their preferences very quickly. Attention span is just reducing, etc. And that's impacting the choices of people. So that's like the demand side. Then supply side in terms of commodities, for example,
mm,
the kind of issues the farmers are facing now in terms of pricing, in terms of geopolitics, etc. So all of that factors are mixing up. Then we are having like a big competition, just like for cotton, for example. I would just again bring back to that.
uh, yeah.
So cotton interacting with polyester sector, etc., and
Mm,
different policies and regulations. Technology overall is all of these factors are combining and they're impacting both micro and macro.
mm,
The idea is, I mean, not just to have a global, that's important to have a global view of all of these factors, but also at the same time, those small local shifts which are happening, which are adding up to that global shift
yeah.
is very important to capture. And it's not easy to capture, I would say. That's
Yeah.
the most difficult point to capture in terms of data points.
Yeah. So let me, I guess, double click on that a little bit. When in terms of when you're talking about macro and data points, I'm assuming that your tools are already glued into all of the macro indicators, and you've got roles that are dedicated to disseminate that data across the org, right? And so you're probably, most likely you're working like a little bit of a well-oiled machine where, and obviously there's the stakes are very high in
Exactly.
an industry like yourselves, and that's where I guess the transformational part of in with predictive analytics is all the more important, right? Like, you agree? I really do believe that. I feel like corporate finance has a lot more room to cover over the many years in that sense.
Exactly. I mean, I think the scope of technology as of now, in terms of applications, is still, I would say, not that widespread
Yeah,
adopted.
yeah,
Once that adoption happens across the sectors, be it medicine, be it commodities, be it banking,
hmm,
be it retail, etc., then is, I think, the real change will happen, and that will impact finance,
yeah.
obviously. I mean.
Definitely. Now, I guess on that same note, since we're talking about predictive analytics, what are the sort of the major tools and techniques that you've employed? And maybe if you could tell us what your learnings have been so far, and if you recommend anything over the others.
Sure. I think the fundamentals still stay the same in terms of forecasting. Like, I don't see data science, machine learning, the time series models going anywhere. Like,
Hmm.
they they were there, they are there. They're just getting improved with a layer of Gen AI coming into the picture.
Yeah.
It has become more explanatory right now, and that has been a big learning for us as well. Like, it's not just accuracy which is important, but explainability
Yeah.
for people to adopt those numbers, what the
Yeah.
models are saying. And getting to that explainability layer is a big challenge. Like, I mean, we know that, I mean, there's some neural networks, some transformers in which the data is moving here and there, etc. But what's exactly happening inside and having that control is
Yeah.
something which is still a piece of research.
Hmm.
And for traders and specifically the leaders in finance, that trust is super important to make them adopt these models.
Right.
So transparency, storytelling, I think these will be there. Like, they
Hmm.
will make the process even more, I would say, trustable.
Yeah.
Stress testing scenarios is another thing which I would like to highlight, looking at the macro and micro environment volatility which is happening, and that will be as important as the math.
Yeah.
So overall, I mean, no single model will be perfect. A lot of them will be still be rear view mirrors, I would say, but
Hmm.
ensemble of such signals and the ability to give that direction to
Yeah.
where things are moving is super important, and that will definitely be one of the winning techniques for any organization.
Right. And so so I guess it's fair to say that you've used a bunch of tools to come up with your models, regression related, time series forecasting, basically various statistical modeling techniques, right? Which are really form the foundation of a lot of these models outside, like adaptive planning and a lot of those tools that we, I guess, finance use from a BI standpoint, more from a visualization standpoint. Do you have you seen anything in the market that you specifically really like over the others, or are you kind of unweighted across all of them?
In terms of techniques,
Yeah.
your question.
More tools, so more systems.
Oh, tools. So I think, I mean, obviously the tools are getting flooded in the market. I would say
Mhm.
with Gen AI coming into picture, like making POCs and making apps has become like uh,
Yeah.
just the time span has decreased. But
Hmm.
still, I would say, I mean, tools will come and go. The fundamentals still remain the same. The techniques still remain the same. The data foundation, which is a big challenge for organizations, having a data which is AI ready
Yeah.
is big challenge. So that will be there. Then feels like AI observability. security, governance. So
Yeah.
all of these things will also end up in some kind of tools, which
Mhm.
will become the future toolkit of any data scientist, data analyst. But the basic principles and fundamentals are
They
there
won't
to
change.
stay. I mean, what do you feel about that? Like, you have been talking to
Yeah.
people across finance. How do you see like the impact of PNL, like on
Yeah.
PNL, I would say, because of all of these factors coming into play?
Yeah, I mean, I think labor is a big deal today. The market is definitely very, very tough right now, both
Mhm.
from jobs additions to, so there's not a lot of layoffs occurring across the entire industry, but we know for a fact that, or even quit rate is also kind of moderated, but we're not adding a lot of jobs in the overall economy. But we definitely know that AI is taking jobs away, and in a way that, they say the age-old saying where AI can improve you as a professional, and if you don't use AI, then you're definitely at threat, kind of thing. So I think the CFO stack is definitely very underpenetrated when it comes to transformation, when it comes to tools, systems, processes, even, and that balancing act is a lot with to do with the people, tools, and systems process. But I think the finance area has definitely been one area where data has been viewed as unclean and messy. And I'll say it's probably of what I've seen in the past is directly through my current role, through my past roles, is that um, we sort of stopped short at being able to clean that data and make kind of sense of the data ourselves. And therefore, it comes in the way of any kind of transformational activities that could happen. And we're very slow to adopt. We're very risk averse in that sense. And there's now techniques or there's now theories such as data maturity models where a particular model helps you transform from point A to point B, or no, don't go to point Z, but go to point B, point C, point D, point E. And then you can adopt a little bit of technology in your processes, prove yourself along the way, and then ask for more budget and go along the way. So I think from a P&L standpoint, I mean, I think the CFO is definitely still mandated on cost optimization.
Mhm.
Even on the balance sheet side, that is also a priority, but the leaders are definitely expecting more growth, more profit optimization scale from the office of the CFO. And that's why there's a lot of tools that are great. I think the AI part of application within the tools is also different model to model.
Mhm.
So some LLMs are really good for finance applications versus the others. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of techniques there are tools that use a blend of those LLMs as well. So yeah, there's many, and I think each kind of fit different use cases.
So, I mean, business knowledge is there to stay, definitely. All of the tools will keep on evolving. The core still remains the same.
Exactly, exactly.
Mhm.
Well, let's move on to like visualization because that's another point where finance and BI and I guess your kind and my kind they meet in the middle because we all have a story to tell and we're all
Exactly.
I guess that's our bread and butter and visualization. And so to that point, what has been your what has been your kind of go-to mantra or what do you live by when it comes to storytelling?
I think a dashboard should speak.
Hmm.
And that's the core mantra. It needs to speak by itself rather than people like trying to read it. It needs to speak. And then is the time when human in the loop will come in picture, when the
Yeah,
dashboard speaks.
yeah.
So more like dashboards need to do that conversation
Hmm.
with the person who is reading it, the
Hmm.
decision maker, and that's the really powerful system which I see evolving specifically with Gen AI and LLMs coming into the picture. So this has like the layer which Gen AI has added on top of data science and predictive analytics is
Yeah.
going to be powerful. So overall, I mean, the visuals need to stay like clean. They need to be granular enough. You need to know who your target audience is for the same data itself. the dashboards which you show to a CFO will be very different versus what you show to a person on a ground, like the operations people, I would say.
Mm,
So
mm,
the granularity matters and all that. And I think all of those different factors can get tied on
yeah,
in this layer of LLM to make a powerful stack. So, I mean, for us, the tools like Python, Power BI, etc., they were the tools and they are getting used, but new layers are getting added onto that. So, even tools are upgrading themselves as per the industry.
yeah,
So, I think it's going good. Again, like how people adopt it, that's the question. Like, how creative can you get with
yeah,
your data? The
yeah.
people who are able to do that will win the race.
Yeah. I'd say it's also to do with, to add to that, it's also to do with the cost of these systems as well, right? Because
Exactly.
there's a variable cost component if you're going directly to these to the AI companies of the world. So OpenAI, and if you're going to Claude and sorry, Anthropic, and there's a usage model. And so
Mhm.
whereas if you're thinking about it a little differently, and if you're transforming using an FP&A tool or a BI tool, that's most likely part of a license fee already. And so you're most likely charged on API connections. You're not charged on the actual calls that you make, meaning not
Yeah.
every query that you make. So there's a bigger kind of conversation and question around, or consideration around, what are you using that for, and how can you put guardrails around it? Because if you have five
Exactly.
analysts on your team and they're just curious analysts, then there goes your budget for the year, kind of thing,
So yeah, I think it's at the bubble stage right now where there are so many tools in the market
Hmm. Hmm.
with the similar value, I would say. Just as the time will go, this bubble will burst. I think that's my opinion, and there will be one or two clear leaders in the market who will
Yeah.
lead the space.
Yeah.
Obviously, those smaller companies interacting with other small companies will exist, but the clear governance, the security, and all that stuff, we'll get to know more clarity once we reach to that stage where there is more stability in terms of who is leading these initiatives. Right now, like it's spread across,
It's
and
spread
that's making decision making for organizations even more difficult. Who to
100%.
trust, who not to trust.
100%. I wholeheartedly agree. It's a very difficult kind of sitting in a CFO seat, understanding
Exactly.
where do I go when I want to. I meet with so many CFOs, obviously, and a lot of them actually complain about, we want some AI. And my first question is, for what? Why? And what is the return you want to see? This is the return that is provided, but there needs to be a conscious understanding of why you're doing something, and and then I explain the benefits of one versus the other. But a lot of times they're just very similar, and
Exactly.
the step that you're needing to go to that, and I'm going to use the ERPs in this conversation, but the step that you're needing from ERP A to ERP B, and say B being NetSuite, that might be a very big leap in terms of cost for maybe not that much of a value add, depending on the size of the organization. Now, if you need a lot of the inventory and a lot of the subledgers and warehousing and all that, maybe it makes sense for you if you're a very large manufacturing organization. But otherwise, if you're a software organization, maybe it does not. So there's all these
Exactly.
choices that they have to make, right?
I mean, people need to understand where do they stand in terms of their needs. Like, what's their problem? Like, it should be a
Exactly.
problem first approach versus AI first. Like,
Yeah.
just like we have that Maslow's hierarchy in which the basic needs
Yeah.
and then comes the next levels. So,
Yeah.
where do we stand? Are we a small organization? Are we a large organization? It cannot be just be like a simple copy
Yeah.
paste. That person is doing it, so I also need to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That won't work.
Yeah.
AI literacy, I would say, is super important, but
Mm.
again, it will start with like a problem first approach,
Yeah.
and then you need to think about like how to integrate AI and technology into it. Do you really need that? Are you
Yeah.
at that stage or not?
Yeah. I love that Maslow's hierarchy, and here's another point for us for connecting, because the data maturity model that I was referring to in the past is almost like a cloned version of the Maslow's
Nice.
hierarchy,
Okay.
because it builds on kind of you have this, then you go to the next level, then you go to the next level. So that's
Exactly.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay, let's kind of move on to maybe the actual tool. So one, the there's a lot of tools out there. We
Yeah.
spoke about labor. How I'm curious, how is your world kind of balancing tools with capacity? So where are you using technology? Where are you using capacity? Where are you doing the trade-offs, basically?
So I think specifically what I've observed from last 6 months or something is that there is more experimentation going on in terms of how do we balance tools with capacity.
Yeah.
Because we are still in that process. We are like, we're trying to adopt technology. We are not there.
Hmm.
We don't know what will happen going ahead. Like the so-called agentic thing, will that work for us or
Yeah.
not? How
Yeah.
much of human in the loop we will need? So
Hmm.
all those are like big questions for organization to answer in terms of resource planning, I would say.
Yeah.
And I mean, we have seen examples where organizations have done mass layoffs, and then after a point of time, they realize that okay, like customer service people, like then they realize, oh no, no, we need those people.
Yeah.
So it's a volatile environment. It's a
Yeah.
very difficult question to answer, I would say. Like,
Yeah.
what's the right balance, and how will that uh, pie chart of people versus agents versus technology versus operations. I mean, in terms of cost allocation, how will that look like?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I mean, roles are there to stay. It's just that they will evolve. Like, for example, a role of like business analyst, which was more focused on writing SQL queries and just acting when people needed stuff, is
Yeah.
moving more towards, I would say, building a system which is capable of doing that stuff autonomously. But at
Yeah.
the same time, that AI observability and that human in the loop is there to stay. So it's just that reskilling is probably, I would say, the need of the hour versus displacement.
Yeah.
And specifically the roles which were like more repetitive and more
Yeah.
rule based, they
Yeah.
are at risk.
Yeah.
But then how do you integrate those people
Hmm.
into within your organization into a different department which is catching up? How do you reskill them? How
Hmm.
do you make them an expert of the new system, is where the organization are heading to, and I
Yeah.
think that's the right direction.
Yeah, definitely. Because I don't think we're really seeing that many layoffs these days. But yeah, there's some of the departments that definitely a little more risk. They're more risk centric when it comes to, or they have more risk when it comes to being replaced by technology. I've seen various models in terms of what sort of pundits recommend in how to balance capacity with technology, and that's exactly how they start. They start with that sort of the stage one, stage two, stage three, stage four data maturity model that
Yeah.
we're talking about, and then they kind of integrate technology, and then they reskill or they redeploy those resources if they can be redeployed. And then they space out those hirings into the future if that's what the situation demands. So we're definitely in interesting times. On the topic of agentic AI, I will probably say that I will trust that agent to go and shop for me or organize a vacation or maybe do some grocery shopping. But I'm not sure if I want that agent to be managing my P&L or balance sheet. That's all. I don't want them applying a loan for my business or anything like that. Like I don't think I trust them that much. Maybe just on an alert level or something like that.
So I think this reminds me of a situation where, I mean, you say that you don't trust it,
Yeah,
but at the same time, when you are trying to build those kind of models in your finance department regarding your financial planning, so you're starting something from scratch every time, like maybe if you have
yeah,
a quarterly analysis.
yeah.
So how do I see agents is that the agent should be able to do that base work
Hmm.
before we
Yeah,
like even enter the
agreed.
system.
Yeah,
So that is where the agent will come, and post that, like for scaling it for like human judgment and all
yeah,
that, then the human in the loop will come. So they'll act as collaborators,
Yeah,
but I mean, at some point, I think as it will improve,
yeah,
maybe people start to trust them as well. It's just a
yeah,
matter of that learning curve.
yeah. I
Mhm.
think generative AI, and I know we wanted to talk about this as well, generative AI versus agents, but generative AI already, in a way, kind of does that if you have a good prompt library. You can ask it to create a model, but then it comes down to human judgment, and that
Exactly.
design work needs to be taken. I think even that bit is not enough to really make a step change difference. It's not something that people are really using it for. What they're really using it for is if I have a let's just say I have a balance sheet issue, uh, I'm too leveraged, or if I need more capital, then I can do a query based on to understand what are my options and how that would impact my current balance sheet and how current P&L, if that technology is integrated with my financials, and if it's integrated and if it has access to all the macro data and
Yes.
benchmark data, then it gives me a really good answer. But if I just ask those questions on ChatGPT on the free version, or even if it's a paid version, it's not integrated with my FP&A tool, it's a big problem because it doesn't give you the return.
Exactly. I mean, it's just taking some random stuff from internet in the first case. And this is where like techniques like RAG, etc., small language models will come into play. Like there is a way to
Yeah,
tackle those issues and companies need to adopt to that.
yeah, absolutely. 100% agree. 100% agree. Asta, what are you curious about to know from finance before we maybe you can ask me something as well that you always sort of oh, I'm curious about that in finance.
Maybe I would like to know from you a real life experience because you have been in that industry for so long.
Yeah,
Where you just felt that, I mean, without technology, this was something which was not feasible. I mean, you saw the real impact in terms of numbers,
yeah,
the real P&L impact.
yeah,
There's a lot of time that measuring is a big issue. Like
yeah,
people say that it's improving productivity,
yeah,
it's improving this, that, but then when it comes to like numbers, how do we convert that into numbers?
yeah,
So was there some use case where you saw like exactly, I mean, you
yeah,
could convert that
yeah.
advantage of technology into a mathematical equation because that's a big challenge for organizations.
Definitely. That's a great question, by the way. And I think the fun thing about finance and anything to do with quantitative is that to prove it's a little easy, but then to prove that it didn't make an impact, it's also equally easy. But I think I guess the biggest, so my current work when I work with startup founders is very much to do with fundraising, even with Series A, Series B, and all the way to kind of growth like pre-IPO. So I'd say funding in the door is probably the first thing that an organization wants. A lot of people associate growth with products, salespeople, but to me, it's the start of it. So if you have capital on your balance sheet, then you can invest in areas. And if you're a public company, then after that, you can start to allocate capital across different areas. So I think that's the first testament. If you get a good capital allocation, then you know that you're in the right place, and you've got the chops to go from there. So that's one. I think I've been in multiple when even before I did this and all of the kind of current work that I do on pricing and all that, and financial planning, strategic planning and all that. That's also there, and I guess the real impact will probably be in a couple of quarters down the line, 1 year down the line. But I think the most significant project in terms of value that I was involved in was actually back in Australia, uh, where we uh, where we set up Dell's first data center, and it was like a $4 billion project, and it was also something that the hyperscalers now do, and it was featured in the papers and all that. It was a big thing for the fact that it was in that geography, but uh, it ended up becoming a different line by itself. And today it is the infrastructure solution group of Dell is the one that's really making. I mean, it was always a profit center more than the client solution group, but that's the one that everyone's watching because it became the place where AI Dell Factory is in talks about, and now Dell's become the number one AI or number two, number three AI company out there or the number one company from a computer hardware standpoint. So if in that particular industry, so that was a really great experience, and that was definitely very, very visible because it really started another line by itself. So we could definitely track it. I think it was very high
Exactly. I
volume.
think that's how startups grow into big organizations. I was just going through a few articles by Sam Altman, and that's what he said
Mhm.
back in 2018 period when they were like testing these LLMs, and they were not throwing very good answers, but probably like two or three companies which were more towards answering customer service providing companies.
Mhm.
So they initially took that models from OpenAI to test, and
Yeah,
it was like working for them.
yeah.
But that's when they saw that pattern that, I mean, people are not using that just for answering customer service issues.
Mhm.
They were using it for more than that. They were actually talking to it. And
Yeah,
that's when it went from like just a simple chatbot which answers questions to something as big as what we see
what we
today,
see
where
today.
people are like associating it in every angle what they can
Yeah,
think of,
yeah,
from like health to work
yeah,
to allocating and buying stocks,
yeah,
taking financial advice. And what, I mean, what we cannot think of is like, I'm not able to think of an area where people are
yeah.
not using it. So
Just between you and me, I'm looking forward to having Optimus cook for me. Um, because I mean I like cooking, but I also like it being done in like my kind of cooking being done. And I
yeah,
feel like if there's a robot being doing, it would be the best thing ever to have someone that's
about to come.
yeah, it is about to
Then,
come.
I mean, you are in San
Fingers crossed.
Francisco, so
Yeah,
it
yeah,
will come to you first before it
exactly,
goes to anybody else.
exactly. I just have to go to Fremont and pick it up. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. Well, it's been lovely chatting with you, Asta. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, and I'm looking forward to having many chats with you on many such topics. And yeah, I wish you have great success in your current role and in the future, and definitely have a great week.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. It was a pleasure talking to you. And I think the first time we met, like the way you invited me, I was like, yes, I want to talk to this person more. So,
Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you very much.
okay.
All right.